And joining us first, two new senators, both of whom have served in the House. Congressman from Arizona, Jeff Flake. Now, Senator Flake, he's in Phoenix this morning, and Connecticut Democrat Chris Murphy, who was also in the House before coming to the Senate. He is in Hartford this morning. Senator Flake, let me start with you. You heard Nancy Pelosi. You heard Mitch McConnell. It sounds to me like that we're in for more than the same. I don't think anything has changed here. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not sure you are. It does look like we're going to have another high wire act or two here coming up. But I would have to agree with Mitch McConnell. I just can't see how the president goes back to the well on more tax increases now. We've got to cut spending. We put off the sequester, and the sequester is really only $1.2 trillion over 10 years. That's really just a start. We've got to do actually more than that, and we put that off. So we've got to cut spending now.
Well, let me, Senator Murphy, let me go to you. What, from the Democratic side of the aisle, what do you see happening here? Do you think that the Senate and the House are going to find a way to raise the debt ceiling? That's going to be the first hard vote. You've also got the what Senator Flake refers to as the sequester. That is these draconian cuts that go in across the board unless the Congress finds some way to resolve some of this stuff. What's going to happen here?
Well, listen, we've got to have a conversation about reducing spending. Jeff's right. There's absolutely no way to take a sizable chunk out of the debt and deficit without reducing spending. But we've also got to talk about tax reform as well. And I think that's what the Speaker was talking about trying to remove some of these deductions and credits, which really don't fulfill good public policy goals and end up costing the country money. But we should have this discussion separate and aside from the debt ceiling. I mean, the legislative hostage taking just doesn't work. It doesn't work for the American people. It doesn't work for the world economy. And what I hope doesn't happen is that Republicans do what they did a year and a half ago, which is essentially hold the entire country's economy hostage to their demands. We need to have a reasonable conversation here, separate and aside from this issue of the debt ceiling.
All right, well, let's just round this out. We want to bring in some new House members who are actually, a couple of them are some old House members who are back. And just to kind of kick this around and see where it goes. Arizona Republican Matt Salmon was elected in 1994 as part of the Republican Revolution. He left to fulfill a pledge to serve only 3 terms. He's with us this morning. Also sworn in for a second tour this time around, Minnesota Democrat Rick Nolan. He was elected in 1974. He left Congress in 1980 and opened his own business. He's decided to come back, and also with us, Pennsylvania Republican Mike Kelly. He's now in his second term. He joined us on Face the Nation 2 years ago when he was first elected. And Congressman, let me just start with you. Last time you were here, you said you had come to Washington and you were not at all impressed with the way things were done around here. And some of the other people on the panel said, "Wait a minute, you're part of the team. You're part of the group now. You've been here now 2 years, so." You think you got anything done this time around?
I think we got a lot accomplished. This is the first time in history of the country that we actually started about spending cuts. We started about reining in the size of government. So that was a huge win. Now, also, this last debate we just had, getting permanent tax relief to 99.3% of the American people was huge. And I go back to Chairman Camp has talked about tax reform, and we're talking about a tax code that's 10 times bigger than the Bible with none of the good stuff. Well, we have to get serious about this spending cut and getting this trajectory of spending down. And if we don't, we are walking away from a pledge to the American people. And listen, I'm a Republican. Matt and Rick are with me today. But more than anything else, we're Americans. And if we want America's future to be bright, if we want America's future to be the future that we had growing up, listen, my dad was a World War II guy. He didn't want to go fight, but he had to. We're at a point right now where we have to address this spending in a really adult manner. And I keep hearing about we need to get more adults at the table. Well, you can get as many adults at the table as you want, but the conversation has to be an adult conversation.
Well, let's see what that conversation is then. Now, you fellows were here before. Now you've come back. You've had a chance to look at this thing from afar. What do you think they've been doing since you left?
Well, honestly, I think that we've got to take the bull by the horns now. It's been 4 years under the same administration, and we've never even really opened a serious discussion about fixing Social Security and Medicare. And that makes me lose sleep. honestly, we deserve a lot better. Social Security will go bust within about 10 years. Medicare in 10 years, and then Social Security not far behind. And we have a moral responsibility. I have a 90-year-old mother that depends on that. We've got to fix that. And if we don't address these spending issues now, when Republicans have the leverage, then when? In the last 4 years, nothing's been done. There hasn't been a budget passed by the Senate in 4 years. $1 trillion deficits every year. If not now, then when?
Bob, you and others have talked about what's different between now and then. And I think that's a great question. This Congress worked 32 out of the 52 weeks last year. My first term, we worked 48 out of the 52 weeks. There's a couple things I think we need to do to change the process, to change the way we do politics. First of all, money has become too dominant. We went through $20 million in my election contest. That's toxic, it's obscene, and it's taking away from the time that we were elected to govern. Members of Congress now, to be successful, are expected to spend 30 hours a week in call time, dialing for dollars. That's time that we need to go to work 4 or 5 days a week, like the other people in this country do. Put the legislative process, the committees back together. Have a process where things evolve and there's cooperation, collaboration, compromise, where you get to know each other.
Let me just point this out. We're talking about you need to get back to work. I never heard of anybody that got a job in the first 2 weeks they went on vacation. That's exactly what has happened here with the Congress. Senators, what do you think about that? That doesn't sound like a sense of urgency there. Everybody gets elected, and oh my gosh, this thing is just terrible. We've got to do something, so we'll see you in a couple of weeks. What about that, Senator Flake?
Well, no, agreed. I'd love to get back. We talk about having a conversation. I think we've had plenty of conversations. We need to cut spending, and whether it's the framework that Erskine Bowles put forward, or any number of frameworks or other reasons to just cut spending. I mean, we've got to do it. We are in control now in the Congress, but pretty soon we won't be. The markets will react, and we'll be looking like and acting like some of these European countries that have an austerity program imposed on them. We want to avoid that, and so I think it behooves us